Welcome to the Chambers of Confession. Take your seat, hit the like button, and subscribe. Here we listen. We don't judge. Now, let's hear what one of us has to say. Okay, I don't know why I'm doing this. Making this recording. Been carrying this around for, Christ, has it been 2 years? Feels like yesterday. Feels like forever. I guess I need to tell someone. Anyone. Can't tell my wife. Can't tell my dispatcher. Can't tell the cops, obviously. So here I am talking to my phone like some kind of lunatic at a rest stop outside Barstow at 2 in the morning. My name doesn't matter. Company doesn't matter. What matters is what happened on I-40. Somewhere between Flagstaff and Albuquerque. Mile marker? I don't remember exactly. You drive these routes enough times, they all blur together. But I remember that night. Every goddamn detail. I'd been driving for Consolidated Transport for, maybe 8 years by then. Good company, decent pay, treated their drivers right. We hauled everything. Auto parts, electronics, produce, livestock. That Tuesday, or was it Wednesday? Dispatch called with a rush job. High priority, they said. Livestock transport from a ranch outside Flagstaff to a processing facility in Little Rock. Temperature controlled, handle with care, the paperwork said. Live cargo cattle. Nothing unusual about that. I'd hauled cattle before. Smells awful, but the pay's good, and ranchers usually tip decent if you get their animals there healthy. So I hooked up to the trailer at the yard, did my pre-trip inspection, and headed out. The trailer was already loaded and sealed when I got there. That should have been my first red flag, but honestly, I was tired. Been on the road for 6 days straight, and I just wanted to get this load delivered so I could take my mandatory rest period. You know how it is. The logs don't lie, and the DOT doesn't care if you're tired. Everything seemed normal at first. The trailer had the right ventilation for livestock, proper permits, all the documentation. The seals were intact. I remember checking the temperature gauge kept steady at 45 degrees. Little cool for cattle, but maybe they were keeping them comfortable for the long haul. First few hours were fine. Rolled through Winona, past Winslow. You know, that Eagles song town. I was making good time, maybe even ahead of schedule. Weather was clear, traffic was light. Perfect conditions. That's when I heard it. Around mile marker 267, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, I heard this knocking. Rhythmic, like someone was hitting the inside of the trailer wall. Thump, thump, thump. I thought maybe one of the cattle was restless. They do that sometimes, especially young bulls. Get spooked by the motion, start kicking at the sides. So I pulled over to check, but the sound stopped as soon as I hit the brakes. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes, engine idling, listening. Nothing, just the wind and the hum of the refrigeration unit. So I got back on the road. 20 miles later, it started again. This time it was different though. More deliberate, like Morse code or something. 3 short taps, 3 long ones, 3 short again, over and over. SOS. Now I'm thinking, that's crazy, right? Cattle don't know Morse code. But the pattern was too perfect, too consistent, and it wasn't coming from multiple spots like you'd expect with agitated animals. It was coming from one specific point, maybe 8 feet back from the front of the trailer. I should have pulled over right then. Should have called dispatch, called the shipper, called somebody. But I was already behind on this delivery, and my logbook was getting tight. If I stopped for too long, I'd have to take my 10-hour break, and that would put me way behind schedule. So I kept driving. Told myself I was imagining things. Road fatigue, you know? Been driving too long, seeing things that weren't there, hearing things. But it didn't stop. For the next 100 miles, that knocking followed me. Sometimes it would quit for 20, 30 minutes, and I'd think it was over. Then it would start again, always that same pattern. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. By the time I hit the New Mexico border, I was losing my mind. I had to know what was in that trailer. The seals be damned. I had bolt cutters in my toolbox. I pulled into a truck stop outside Gallup. Place was mostly empty, just a couple other rigs parked way over by the restaurant. I backed into a spot at the far end of the lot, away from the lights, and killed the engine. The knocking stopped. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, just listening. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely light a cigarette. Finally worked up the nerve to walk back to the trailer. The refrigeration unit was humming along, keeping everything at 45 degrees. I could hear movement inside. Not the heavy shifting of cattle, though. Something else. Lighter, more frantic. I cut the seal. The smell hit me first. Not the usual cattle smell, manure and hay and animal musk. This was wrong, sweet and sour at the same time, like fruit left out in the sun too long. And underneath that, something chemical, antiseptic. I opened the doors. Jesus Christ. They weren't cattle. They were people. Maybe 15, 20 people packed into modified livestock crates. The crates had been welded shut, with just small ventilation holes drilled in the sides. Most of them looked unconscious, drugged maybe. But one of them, a woman, probably mid-20s, was awake. She was the one doing the knocking. Her hands were bloody from beating against the metal. When she saw me, she started crying, reaching through the ventilation holes, trying to grab at me. She was speaking Spanish, I think, or maybe Portuguese, but I couldn't understand her. Didn't matter. I knew what she was saying. Help me. I stood there for I don't know how long. Could have been seconds, could have been minutes. My brain just couldn't process what I was seeing. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. I haul cattle and auto parts and produce. I don't haul this. But there they were, human beings, packed like cargo, being shipped God knows where for God knows what purpose. I should have called 911. Should have cut those crates open right there, let them all out, taken them to the nearest hospital. That's what a decent person would have done. But I didn't. You want to know why? Because I'm a coward. Because I was scared. Because I had a mortgage and a wife and 2 kids in college. And I knew that if I called the cops, if I got involved, my life was over. The company would fire me. The people who set this up would come after me. My family would be in danger. So I closed the doors, put a new seal on the trailer. I always carry spares. And I kept driving. The knocking started again about 50 miles outside Albuquerque. But this time I turned the radio up loud, drove straight through to Little Rock, stopping only for fuel and to fake my logbook entries. 36 hours straight, which is illegal as hell, but I didn't care anymore. I just wanted this load off my truck. The delivery point wasn't a processing facility. It was a warehouse in an industrial park outside the city. No signs, no company name, just an address. 3 guys in suits were waiting for me, along with a smaller refrigerated truck. They didn't say much, just had me back up to the loading dock, signed the paperwork, and started transferring the cargo. I couldn't see exactly what they were doing. The dock had curtains, but I could hear voices. Weak, muffled voices. One of the suit guys handed me an envelope. Cash. $5,000 on top of my regular delivery fee. Appreciate your discretion, he said. That was it. I hooked up to an empty trailer and drove home. I never found out what happened to those people. Never tried to find out. Told myself it wasn't my business, that I was just the driver, that I didn't know anything. But I knew. I knew exactly what I'd seen, what I'd been part of, and I did nothing. Company never offered me another job like that one. Probably figured I was unreliable after what happened. I came back from that run completely different. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, jumped at every little sound. Wife kept asking what was wrong, but what could I tell her? That her husband was complicit in human trafficking? That I'd chosen our mortgage payments over someone else's life? I quit Consolidated 6 months later. Told them I wanted to go independent, be my own boss. Truth is, I couldn't stand seeing the other drivers, wondering if they knew what kind of cargo sometimes moved through that yard. Been driving local routes ever since. Home every night. No more long hauls. Safer that way. For everyone. But I still think about her. The woman in the crate, knocking on the walls, begging for help in a language I couldn't understand. Wonder if she made it out alive. Wonder if any of them did. Wonder if she had kids. A husband. People who are still looking for her, still hoping she'll come home. I tell myself there was nothing I could have done. That calling the cops would have just gotten me killed and wouldn't have saved anyone. That these operations are too big, too organized, too dangerous for one truck driver to take down. But that's bullshit, isn't it? Truth is, I was a coward. I chose my own safety over theirs. I chose my comfort over their lives. And now I have to live with that. Every night when I close my eyes, I hear that knocking. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. The SOS I never answered. That's all for tonight, Chamberlains. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments. And if you have a confession you'd like the chamber to listen to, Do not hesitate. Forward them. Remember, we listen. We don't judge. Subscribe and don't forget to hit the like button. See you in the chambers. Same time tomorrow.